September 9th, 2013. Bergen County, New Jersey, one of the most populated areas of the country, wakes up to what locals will come to call the traffic jam from hell. School buses can't reach their destinations as ambulances crawl through gridlock. A 91-year-old woman waits for paramedics who are trapped in the chaos. Commuters sit helplessly for hours, unable to reach their jobs, unable to get their kids to class. And it was all part of one man's grand scheme. This is the story of Bridgegate, a scandal that turned a bridge into a weapon, destroyed a presidential dream, and revealed just how much political revenge can affect ordinary people's lives. The George Washington Bridge is the busiest motor vehicle bridge in the world, connecting Fort Lee, New Jersey, to Manhattan. Every morning, tens of thousands of commuters funnel through its toll plaza, their routes carefully managed by decades of traffic engineering. For Fort Lee residents, 3 dedicated toll lanes had always been their guaranteed passage onto the bridge. Traffic cones separated these local lanes from the main highway approach. It was a simple system that worked, until someone decided to exploit it. The bridge is controlled by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, a bi-state agency where New Jersey's governor appoints key positions. Republican Governor Chris Christie had packed the Port Authority with over 50 political loyalists, a little army, as one account described them. His close associate David Wildstein held a senior director position, and his ally Bill Baroni served as deputy executive director. These men had the authority to shift lane configurations and reassign toll plaza access with minimal oversight. They didn't need a traffic study or advance notice. They were simply trusted to do a good job. What they didn't realize was that their authority would soon be turned into a political weapon. August 13th, 2013. An email that would become infamous. Bridget Ann Kelly, Governor Christie's deputy chief of staff, wrote to David Wildstein just 8 words: "Time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee." Wildstein's reply was immediate: "Got it." But what were these two up to? Turns out, they were carrying out Chris Christie's revenge plot on Mark Sokolich, Fort Lee's Democratic mayor, who had refused to endorse his re-election campaign. Christie was courting Democrats across New Jersey, building a bipartisan image for his ambitions to become president, and Sokolich wouldn't play along. So he decided to make him pay. On September 6th, Wildstein gave the order. 2 of Fort Lee's 3 dedicated toll lanes would close on Monday morning. He explicitly instructed bridge managers to tell no one, not Fort Lee's mayor, not the police, not even the Port Authority's own executive director. The bridge manager later testified this had never happened in his 35-year career. They called it a traffic study, but that was a bold-faced lie. Monday morning arrived. As Fort Lee's 3 lanes became one, the effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The carefully engineered traffic system collapsed like a dam breaking in reverse, backing traffic up for miles into residential streets. Mayor Sokolich frantically called the Port Authority for answers, but his messages went ignored. When Fort Lee's police chief finally reached the bridge manager, he was told it was a traffic study and was given the instruction to deny this conversation ever took place if asked. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Wildstein and Kelly exchanged messages that revealed their true intentions. When Mayor Sokolich texted Wildstein, "Help please, it's maddening," reporting that children couldn't get to school, he forwarded it to Kelly. She responded, "Is it wrong that I am smiling?" Wildstein replied, "No." Kelly wrote back, "I feel badly about the kids, I guess." To which Wildstein replied, "They are the children of Buono voters," referring to Christie's Democratic opponent. The gridlock continued for 4 days until Patrick Foy, the Port Authority's executive director, discovered what was happening and reversed the closures, calling the decision potentially illegal and dangerous. By then, the damage was done, but the cover-up was just beginning. In November 2013, Bill Baroni testified under oath to the New Jersey Assembly. With charts and slides, he explained that the lane closures were part of a legitimate traffic study examining whether Fort Lee's dedicated lanes created unfair advantages. This, of course, was just a performance, as there was no study. The Port Authority's own review would later confirm that none of the proper procedures, data collection plans, safety reviews, notifications, had been followed. Zero evidence of any legitimate traffic study existed. Internally, the conspirators scrambled to hide their tracks. Bridget Kelly deleted emails and text messages. Governor Christie's cell phone from that period mysteriously went missing. Christie's chief of staff deleted text messages she'd exchanged with the governor about the scandal. Through the fall of 2013, Christie's office stuck to the script. It was a traffic study under review. Christie sailed to re-election in November, his presidential ambitions soaring. He was the bipartisan reformer, the straight-talking New Jersey governor who could win swing states. Then came January 8, 2014. The night the "time for some traffic problems" email became public, and everything changed overnight. The next day, Christie held a 107-minute press conference. Contrite and apologetic, he claimed he'd been betrayed by rogue staffers and insisted none of his senior staff knew about the scheme. But Bridget Kelly, watching from home, texted a friend, "He just flat out lied." The investigations began, and federal prosecutors indicted Kelly, Baroni, and Wildstein on charges of fraud and civil rights violations. In 2016, Kelly and Baroni were convicted and sentenced to prison. Wildstein, who testified against them, admitted he was the mastermind of the scheme, that his job was to serve as Christie's enforcer, the bad cop, when needed. But even with all the mounting evidence, Christie himself was never charged. Though the legal outcome barely mattered to him, Bridgegate had already destroyed what he valued most, his path to the presidency. Chris Christie had entered 2014 as a frontrunner for the 2016 Republican presidential nomination. By the time he officially launched his campaign in 2015, Bridgegate had ruined him. The scandal became synonymous with his name, not the bipartisan reformer, but the bully whose staff orchestrated a traffic hellscape for political revenge. He struggled in the primaries and dropped out early. Christie himself later admitted Bridgegate was a factor in being passed over for the vice presidential slot. His presidential dreams, once so tangible, died on the George Washington Bridge. In a final twist, the Supreme Court overturned Kelly and Baroni's convictions in 2020, ruling unanimously that while they'd abused their power, their scheme didn't violate federal fraud statutes because they hadn't obtained money or property for themselves. Justice Elena Kagan's opinion was clear. This was absolutely an abuse of power, but not every abuse of power is a federal crime. So legally, they walked. But in the court of public opinion, there was no acquittal. Bridgegate entered the American lexicon as shorthand for political vengeance. It showed how public infrastructure, something as mundane as traffic lanes, could be weaponized for petty revenge. How ordinary citizens could be held hostage in a power struggle they never asked to be part of. The scandal revealed something darker about political culture, that loyalty could be demanded at any cost, that punishment could reach into the daily lives of thousands, and that power, unchecked, can always find a way to abuse the vulnerable. Fort Lee's traffic has long since returned to normal, but the bridge that broke a governor's career remains a monument to a simple truth. In politics, as in traffic, what goes around comes around. Sometimes karma arrives right on schedule, stuck in gridlock, just like everyone else.